Hi and welcome. I'm Cristina Maliţa. I'm a leadership coach and the founder of the Limitless Sky. And this video is the first one in a series of videos that I'm gonna shoot every week so that we get to talk more and look at different aspects of our lives and careers so that we can create something different. I'm here to contribute to you guys with new tools so that we can move from struggle, from survival mode into creation and thriving. And we're going to talk about different topics, some that are very present for me, and some probably based on the questions that I get from you guys. And today I'm going to talk about perfectionism, and I've actually called this episode Are You Killing Your Career with the Perfectionism You Are Using? And this week's topic got inspired by something that I experienced very recently and something that I've looked at just a few days ago. And I know that I've killed misperfection in me, which is great because I've been struggling perfectionist for a long time now, and it has affected not just my career but my personal life and my personal relationships as well. So how did I do it? I will talk to you about it in this episode, and then I will let you know what are all the tools, the coaching tools that I've used that you can use too if you're a perfectionist and you want to move forward and you want to get rid of that. So basically what happened is that I prepared this presentation for a company that is interested in facilitation and coaching with me. And the feedback I got back once I finally submitted my materials is that, wow, this looks great. We see that you've worked a lot on them, amazing stuff. You're such a perfectionist. And I was like, what? What do you mean by I'm such a perfectionist? I mean, I know I like quality in everything I do, but it wasn't like it was 100% done. It wasn't like that, in my opinion. Yet, this piece of feedback got me thinking and got me reflecting, because the other thing that that person said, it took you so long, but you finally submitted it, and when you did, the quality was great. So what I realized in that moment is that indeed it does take me longer, because I want things to look great, to look amazing. I want to study things. I want to study the company I'm submitting a proposal for, and so on and so forth. But that actually slows things down. So then I started reflecting on what other areas in my career and in my life are affected by my need for perfectionism. And I realized that in my career, so as a leadership coach and as a manager of a marketing team, I use a lot the phrases like 80% done today is better than 100% done tomorrow. There's another one from Jeff Bezos that he said, in which he says that, we do at 60%, we execute, we learn, we test. So I have been working with this testing mentality for quite a long time now, and I thought, I'm so fast, I test, I'm not a perfectionist, I'm okay with failing, so on and so forth. And then I realized, oh, these are just great ideas, but I'm not actually living, breathing them. So I knew there was something there for me because I'm a very self-aware person. So here's the process that I went through that I want to share with you so that you can look at some of these tools. And in case you want to look at you and how perfectionist you are, you can use something very similar. So the first thing I looked at, or the first thing I knew right off the bat, is that if I'm holding on to this perfectionism, and I like to be Miss Perfectionist, is because it has some sort of value for me. So the first tool and the first question is actually a question, and the question I've asked is like, what's the value of perfectionism for me, or being a perfectionist? What's that value for me? Because anything that you're not willing to give up on is because it has some sort of value to you. Even though consciously you might not see it or it might not make sense, unconsciously for sure there's some sort of value. So then I started doing a bit of journaling, and what came up for me was the fear of failure. So if I'm not a perfectionist and I don't give my 80%, my 100%, it means that I'm not going to be successful. And that was interesting to me. And I was like, wow, what's this? What's beyond this? Where did I get this from, right? Questions that you too can use to uncover that insanity around this type of points of view. And then I realized that in school and in the school system that I grew up as a Romanian, it's all based on who's getting the better grades, and you are successful if you get a straight A or a 10, and you are a failure if you don't. So we always strive for that perfection. We always strive for the highest grade. And I was taught as a young girl that you have to go to school, you have to get good grades, get a good job, get married, be happy, and that's all, right? So I grew up with that mentality, which meant that I always studied hard to get the best grades, which I did. Okay, so now I realize that I have this mentality, this paradigm that I'm living in, and I was holding on to it. I wasn't letting it go, even though now as an adult I know that's not the best educational model, that we can fail and failure is part of life and it's how we learn. So cognitively I already knew these things, but I wasn't really living them fully. So then I realized that the flip coin of that is being unsuccessful, being a failure, not living the purpose that I know I can live, not getting to the potential I know I can be, and so on and so forth. So this was the fear that was holding this in place. So then I was always striving for perfectionism because that's what I knew, right? That's what I knew. So I invite you right now to look in your career, in your life. Where do you strive for perfectionism? First of all, just look at that. Are you a perfectionist? Yes or no? There's no reason to judge yourself for it, but what I'm inviting you to, if you're willing to change this, if you're willing to choose to change this, what's beyond that? So for me, it was all the programming that I received in my school years, and then all the fears that came with being unsuccessful or being a failure. So start asking these questions, like what's the value for me in being a perfectionist? And what's beyond that? What's the lie here? And then start digging through that. Okay, so that was a big help, but I still wasn't willing and ready to let that go. So another tool that I found really useful, and I've been playing with it for a while now, is would an infinite being choose this? And in my case, in this particular case, I looked at, would an infinite being fail at anything? No. So I got a straight no. And how did I know? Because what's light, it's true for you, and what's heavy, it's a lie. So looking at, can an infinite being fail at anything? I got a no, and that was light. And what I knew in that moment is that when I'm in my mind, I'm in my thoughts, feelings, and emotions, is when I function as a finite being. But we are not finite. Even though we've been told so, and we've been walking around living our lives as if we were finite, in truth we are actually infinite, divine beings. So that question brought so much awareness to me, and I realized that it's time for me to let go of that, and it's time for me to be as infinite as I truly am. So the next thing I did was to look at what's possible for me now that I gave up being Miss Perfectionist. And what I realized was that I was holding back in so many different ways in my career, in my personal life, in my relationships, and so on and so forth. So giving up on being a perfectionist came with giving up the control, right? Because when you're a perfectionist, you get to control every piece of the puzzle, But the minute you're willing to let go of perfectionism, that control goes away as well. Right? You cannot control every piece of the puzzle anymore. And that felt scary for me before doing this reflective process. So where have you been not willing to let go of control in your life, in your career? Are you willing to look at that? And control showed up in how much I was expanding my business, my coaching practice, the goals and the targets I went after with my team. It showed up in so many different ways. But the thing is, and I'm a smart girl, right? I realized really quickly that what I can control is really, really small. And I'm not willing to play small anymore. So the funny thing was that I've been postponing doing these type of videos for you guys for a long time. And whatever the story was, right, it wasn't great, it wasn't perfect, I don't have the perfect things to say and so on and so forth. The moment I gave that up, the moment I gave that up, this new idea of, oh, I could do videos for the community. And you know what? It's fine if it's not perfect, popped into my head. So this video is actually a result of me being willing to give up control and give up perfectionism, which is great because I've been postponing doing this for a long time, and I know I can contribute to you guys with these type of tools. So continuing thinking about failure and am I willing to fail, I actually realized that I cannot fail as an infinite being, but I can play and I can test, and some things will not go maybe as intended or as expected, but that's okay. I'm willing to play. And this is what I'm doing now. And I got this new mantra, which I want to share with you guys, because maybe some of you will want to adopt it as well, which is do it bad, do it wrong, and do it anyways. Wow, what a change. So do it bad, do it wrong, and do it anyways. My new mantra. How crazy is that? And I'm now willing to play. I'm not willing to test. And whereas this was a good idea, a great idea to do, people talk about it, we adopt this testing mentality, now it's real. Now I'm actually doing it. So I'm really curious about what this will create in my life, in my practice, with you guys going forward. I did get a sense that it will create more, and this was another tool. So if I were willing to fail, even though I know I can't really fail at this, there's no way I can do it wrong, I just play with it. So if I were willing to play and fail, will that create more for me and other people? And I got an immediate yes, an intuitive yes. Wow, my energy expanded. So that's how I knew that actually showing up on video and doing these things is going to create more. So I'm following that. I'm following what feels right. So again, getting back to you, I invite you to reflect on, first of all, are you a perfectionist, yes or no? And it starts with being totally honest with yourself about it, because if you're lying to yourself, nothing will change ever. So get really honest with yourself and admit if you're doing it. It's no reason to judge yourself for it. It's like only 3 billion people on this planet do it, so you're not alone. Second of all, are you willing to change this? Yes or no? Again, be really clear with you on that, even though you might not know how. And if it's a yes, then go use the other questions. Questions are a powerful, really, really powerful tool. And look at what's the value for you in being a perfectionist? And what have you been taught? What have you learned in school? What have your parents taught you, your caregivers, about failing and succeeding? And how and what have you defined as success and failure? And maybe you start journaling. Maybe you go and reflect in nature or in a space where you feel safe and relaxed. So see what comes up for you. And then let go of these things. And the easiest way to let go of them is just let go of them. Just like that. With your intention, you let go of these things. And then ask yourself, am I willing to fail at this? Am I willing to have fun knowing that an infinite being cannot really fail at anything? And then ask yourself, if I were willing to fail with this, whatever that is for you, maybe it's applying for a new position, maybe it's taking on a big goal, maybe it's hiring somebody who you're not 100% sure it's a fit for the team, whether it's something in your personal, private life, whatever that is, if I were willing to fail at this, would that create more? And then go with what feels like for you. So I hope this helps. I hope this is a contribution for you. Use these tools. It's not enough to watch me talk about it. If you're going to change something, and if you're going to be less of a perfectionist and more of a tester, a person who's willing to play and fail and test, you have to use these tools. Let me know if you have any questions about this in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to address your questions. Also, if you want to continue this conversation and having more of these conversations in a more intimate, private environment, I invite you to join our LinkedIn group, our LinkedIn private community, which is called the Conscious Leaders Club, in which we're going to continue the conversation. I'll put the link down below so you can join. It's a free community, and hope to see you there. Have an excellent day. Bye.